Nashim avadim muktarim, women, slaves, and young children under the age of bar mitzvah. B'terem Kriya Shema, they're exempt from Shema. Who may not tefillin, they don't have to wear tefillin. Chacham and tefillin, they must daven, however, they must have a mezuzah on their doorways. Ubirkas hamazon, and they must bench. Nashim 9. How we know the women are exempt from Shema? Because it says Limadatem osam, and from tefillin as well. Limadatem osam es b'neichem. It says you should teach your children es b'neichem, your children, v'lo es b'noseichem, and not your daughters, your boys and not your girls. Avodim minayin. How we know avodim are exempt from Shema? Shneimar Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And it's an interesting drasha. It says here. In the Bavli, it says that women are avodim are exempt from Kriya Shema because they're like women. If women are exempt, then so too are slaves. So, however, here the Drew Gemara says Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad She'ein Olo Adon. Only a person who has no master other than Elah Kodesh Baruch Hu, other than God. Yotza Eved Sheyesh Lo Adon Acher, as opposed to an Eved who has another master other than God. So therefore, it's not Echad. He has two masters over him. Another important point is that one could say that one should be exempt from Shema as a woman because it's a mitzvah sasei as man groma. It's a mitzvah which is time contingent, right? Yet nonetheless, we don't say it because we would have said had we not had this explicit source of Limad Mosam Espnechem, we would have said that women should be mechuyev in Shema because we have it's the acceptance of the yoke of heaven upon them. So therefore, it's such a significant mitzvah. I might have said they should do it nonetheless. That's why I need a special pasuk to say that they're exempt no matter what. Says the Gemara. Ketani minayin. How do we know that children are exempt? So here too, a very interesting thing. L'man tia Toras Hashem b'ficha. In order that it says that you should wear tefillin, in order that the Torah of God should be in your mouth. B'shoshu tadir bar. That means when are they chayiv in tefillin, and the assumption is even in Shema, because when he can sustain himself, when he can wear the tefillin constantly. So when can he wear the tefillin constantly? Only when he has a clean body. When do we say a kohen knows how to keep his body clean? Only from the time he's bar mitzvah, not prior to his bar mitzvah. So that doesn't mean b'shoshu tarba when he can wear the tefillin constantly, which is only above, not below the age of bar mitzvah. That's the way that Pnei Moshe explains it. I would have said something slightly different if it was up to me. I'd say l'manti Toras Hashem b'ficha. B'shoshu tarba means when a person, when a boy is constantly learning Torah, that's when he's chayiv in Shema and in tefillin. In other words, means when you are constantly learning Torah on a regular basis, so that's when you're chayiv to say Shema and to put on tefillin midoraisa. And a boy does not constantly learn Torah, doesn't go to a yeshiva really until he's after bar mitzvah. So if only after his bar mitzvah does he become chayiv in Shema and in tefillin, which is linked to Shema as well.
What does tadir mean? It means frequent,
constant,
familiar,
frequent or constant, either or, constant or frequent.
Can you also say that he can appreciate Torah?
Generally, I don't. Tadir would be very hard to translate. Tadir as that. It would take a little bit of a stretch. Okay, it says the Gemara, why are all these people chayiv in tefillah? Lord, everybody should ask mercy for their own selves. And this is an interesting principle which we're saying here, which is that it seems that tefillah is the Rabbanan. Because it doesn't say here we have any special source to indicate that tefillah is d'oraisa. No, it says that tefillah is the Rabbanan, and it doesn't say tefillah is the Rabbanan, but it indicates that the reason why we require you to daven is because it's good for you to ask rachmim on yourself. Well, if that's the case, there's no pasuk. It sounds like tefillah is only rabbinic responsibility, which is machlokas Rambam and Ramban. The Rambam holds that, I believe it's the Rambam, but I might be getting it mixed up. One of the two holds that tefillah is d'oraisa, just at the set times of the Rabbanan. The other holds that all tefillah is the Rabbanan. So it sounds to this Gemara that tefillah is the Rabbanan, because they don't bring a Torah source to require somebody to daven, only the concept of, in order that you should ask mercy for your own soul.
Doesn't everyone agree that Mariv is...
Everybody agrees is the Rabbanan. It might not even be the Rabbanan. It might be a Rishus. It might be a voluntary tefillah, right? The other tefillahs are mandatory rabbinic mitzvahs, but that's only voluntary. Okay, it says more. Ubirkas a mezuzah, everybody's chayv mezuzah. The chsiv, as it says, you should write on the doorpost of your house and on your gateways. So wherever has a house, wherever has a gateway, it's chayv and mezuzah. Birkas Hamosa. How know the chayv and bench? You'll see it says, anybody you can eat and be satiated should bless God, including noshim and avodim. Talmud, we learned over there, call mitzvah sasei shazman groma, any mitzvah say which applies a command which is linked to time. Anoshi chayovim, men must perform. Anoshi pturos, and women are exempt from. V'chol mitzvah say shalos man groma, any mitzvah say which is not contingent on time. Achad anoshi v'echad noshim chayovim, both men and women are responsible to fulfill it. Eizu mitzvah say shazman groma. What's the mitzvah say which is contingent on time? Kigon, such as sukkah, lulav, shofar, and tefillin. Sukkah, of course, only had sukkahs. Lulav also only had sukkahs. Shofar and Rosh Hashanah. Tefillin only during the day. Vezu mitzvah say she'enaz man groma. What's a mitzvah say which is not contingent on time? Kigon aveda, when you find the lost object to return it. Shulakem, when you find the bird who's sitting on her nest, to send it away. Maket, placing a parapet, a fence around your roof. The tzitzis. Tzitzis is not a mitzvah seisha azman groma. So we'll get to that in a second. So Rabbi Shimon says no. He's poter sanochmi, exempts women mitzvah tzitzis from tzitzis. She mitzvah seisha azman groma, because he says it is a mitzvah which is time contingent. Sharei, as we know, up to page Chotem Beis now. Sheiksus Laila 50. Sheiksus Laila Potamina Tzitzis. The garment you wear at night is exempt from tzitzis. Says, well, Rabbi Laya said, I'll explain to you the rabbis who said it's not a mitzvah seisha azman groma. Tamon de Rabbanan, their logic is, Shekeni moisam yucheretz lo liyom ula laila. If you had a garment which you wear both the day and at night, she chayoves b'tzitzis. You're required to put tzitzis on it. So it's interesting. The Yerushalmi here, according to this Rabbanan, clearly holds that tzitzis is a halacha which pertains to the type of garment, regardless if it's day or night.
So when we're wearing what we consider tzitzis, we say extra day.
Yeah.
So is that considered wear day and night?
No, and technically speaking, we don't paskin at Yerushalmi. We paskin at night. You don't have to wear tzitzis. That means you can wear a four-corner garment without tzitzis on it. It's only according to this Yerushalmi that holds that a garment which is worn day and night, since it is worn during the day, it's also chayav at night. So it goes by the garment, not by the nature of the garment, not by when you're actually wearing it.
But this is a four-cornered day.
A four-cornered day and night garment. That's right. Okay, so it's a big chiddush, but that's how Rabbi Laya explains Rabbanan. Mitzvah says the mitzvah seisha ein azman groma, which is not time contingent. Tani, we learned, kol mitzvah she'adam patur, any mitzvah where a person is exempt, adam motzi es rabbi yidei chavosam. Now, by exempt here, we don't mean that he doesn't have to fulfill it. It's a mitzvah where he is required to fulfill it. It's just not in this instance. For instance, a person already heard shofar, he can blow shofar for somebody else even though he's already exempt. A person already read Megillah, he can read Megillah for somebody else even though he's already exempt. A person already made Kiddush, he can say Kiddush to somebody else even though he's already exempt. What's the exception? This says Yerushalmi, very interesting exception. It says the Gemara chutzi birkas hamosa, except for benching. By benching, if you're not mechuyev to bench, if you haven't eaten, according to Yerushalmi, can't be motzi other people. Why is that? Says Yerushalmi. How could this be? First says Yerushalmi. What about that which it says? Kosha eino chayav b'davar a motzi esrei dechavosam. Somebody who's not responsible for a certain thing cannot exempt cannot be motzi. The masses in that area, which sounds like oimay chayav, it sounds like if at one point you're chayiv, in other words, if sometimes you're required to do so, afilim yotze, even if now in this particular instance you're yotze, motzi, you can still be motzi others. So therefore, it sounds like as long as sometimes you're mechuyev in benching, i.e., when you eat enough, when you wash, etc. So it sounds like then you can be motzi others in benching, even though at this particular juncture you haven't eaten or drinking. So what does Yerushalmi mean? That it's Yerushalmi is asking, what do you mean to say that if you have that you can't be motzi another person in benching unless you mechuyev in benching? That's not the general principle. General principle is as long as you're in general required full mitzvah, even though in this specific case you've already fulfilled it, you could still be motzi others.
How do you motzi someone in benching? You leave a bench?
You bench out loud.
And everyone else?
They all listen.
Just say amen.
Shomer k'omen.
I didn't know that should be done for benching.
You can't. We don't do it. No, it's the only reason why we don't do it is because we are afraid that you won't be able to be mechavin long enough. You won't be able to pay attention long enough. Okay, but otherwise we would do it.
What about for bracha achrona? Does the person has to eat something in order to be motzi other people for bracha?
That would stem from this Gemara.
Yeah.
So says Gemara, how do we know this is true? Says the Gemara, why is it true by benching? Amar Rabbi Elias again said, Shani yibika samosa. Benching's different. You should eat and you should be satiated and you should bench God. It's a special custom, unique to benching. So only those people who ate can bench. However, by any other mitzvah in Torah, anybody who's in the category of performing the mitzvah can be motzi others in that mitzvah, even if right now they're not required to do that mitzvah.
Even making kiddush, he's drinking another cup of wine as he's making kiddush, even though he's already been yotzei his own requirement.
He doesn't have to drink the wine.
He doesn't have.
He can give somebody else the wine to drink.
He can say the kiddush.
He can say kiddush, yeah. Right. So we do in shul with the kids.
Yeah.
It's a problem giving it to the kids, but hypothetically speaking, you can be motzi others and give them the wine to drink. It's possible to do so. So you don't have to drink it yourself. It's better to drink yourself, but you don't have to. Excuse me? Yes. Yeah. Okay, it says Gemara. What?
If your family didn't give you kiddush, you'd have to do it over again.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. Yeah. Okay? Says Gemara, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda ben Pazi, Abba Stephen. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda ben Pazi were sitting and discussing the principles of being Yotzei, your chiyuv, via somebody else. Amru, they said, Lo mistabra, it's not not logical, not rational, it's not acceptable by Shema that you should be Yotzei with another person. Everybody should say Shema on their own. Why is that? So everybody should say with their own mouth. In other words, this is the acceptance of the yoke of heaven upon yourself. So you have to do it in front of. You should do it yourself, not be yotzi with others. Also, lo mistar b'tfilah. It's not logical or acceptable by davening to say you should be yotzi with another person's Shemona Esrei. Why not there? Because we prefer that each individual supplicate God on his own behalf. Okay? Ma bin sukkah, ma bin lulav. What is the distinction between sukkah and lulav? Now, this is out of left field, but this is another conversation Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda ben Pazi were having. That's why it's brought down here. And they said, what's the difference between sukkah and lulav? What's the difference between sukkah and lulav? And the question is based on something which we do not paskin like, which is that in the times of the Yerushalmi, at least in Eretz Yisrael, I should say. Yes, he missed the shiur. In Kriya Shema, each person says it. In times of Yerushalmi, they would only say one bracha on Sukkah, the first night of Sukkot, and that was it, folks. For the rest, that's it. One Leishe B'Sukkah, the entire Yontif. That's it. So ask the Netilas Lulav they make every day. So ask the Gemara, Ma ben sukkah, ma ben lulav. Why ben lulav? We're on Chav Hayim base 15. Ma ben sukkah lulav. When it rains, it pours.
So originally wasn't the lulav only said the first day?
Yeah. Oh, in the Beis Hamikdash was only when the Beis Hamikdash existed, then they would only take lulav the first day outside the Beis Hamikdash. But now we take midrabanan, we take the lulav every day outside the Beis Hamikdash, and we make a bracha every day, even according to Yerushalmi. But according to Yerushalmi, we would not make a bracha on Sukkah every day, only the first night. The question is why. Okay? There you have the rest of the page.
Actually, to me, the question is reverse. Why is it that we do what we do anyway? Because it's one continuous mitzvah anyway.
Sukkah. That's what I was going to answer. You're right. You have a good question. Because that's what the Yerushalmi is. That's how Yerushalmi draws distinction. It says we're about 10 lines to the bottom on 50. Sukkah ain't tuna bracha ela yontav rishon. Sukkah only requires a bracha the first night of yontav. Yontav rishon bilvad. Lulav told bracha kol shiva. A lulav requires a bracha each and every day of the 7 days. Okay, that's just a statement of fact. That's a statement of halacha. Now we're going to discuss why the distinction. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yassin, Rabbi Yosef, Ravacha were sitting. They were saying, Ma ben sukkah, ma ben lulav. Why is there such a distinction? Why by sukkah do we only make the bracha the leisha by sukkah the first night, whereas by lulav we make a bracha each and every day? Says the Gemara, very interesting, very good answer. Says the Gemara what you were saying. Says the Gemara, I'll tell you. Sukkah noegas b'leil siyam. In sukkah, hypothetically, you can do the bracha uninterruptedly the entire sukkah. You can sit in the sukkah the entire sukkah straight. So therefore, the bracha is an ongoing. The mitzvah is an ongoing mitzvah. Whereas, but lulav ain't a noegel b'yoyim. Lulav, there's no mitzvah at night. So therefore, those mitzvahs are by definition 7 distinct interrupted mitzvahs. So that's why by lulav we make a new bracha every day, as opposed to by sukkah, where one bracha at the beginning will suffice for the whole thing. Okay? So we don't paskin like the Yerushalmi. Right? The Bavli doesn't hold this way. The Bavli says every time you go into sukkah, you make a bracha. As long as you're going to eat. Excuse me? Women are going to put regardless, right? Because it's only a mitzvah which applies 7 days a year. So even if it applies day and night, it's still mitzvah seishar zman groma. Okay? But women are going to be potter, whether it's only at night or both the day and the night, again, because it only comes 7 days a year, not any other time. Says the Gemara, hey, to Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah asked the kasha, I'm sorry, not Rabbi Yirmiyah. Hey, to Rabbi Yaakov the Rumya. Rabbi Yaakov from the south asked the kasha. Hey, he's one of the rabbis from the south. We don't like them so much, right? But the Rabbi Yaakov asked the kasha. Harei Talmud, it's a good kasha. He asked, Harei Talmud Torah noei b'leil so kiviyomim. Talmud Torah applies both in day and at night. Yet, we make a bracha every day. We make a bracha, last of the Torah every day. Well, right, do we have to make that bracha? Because it's an ongoing mitzvah, like sukkah, should I make one bracha when we're bar mitzvah? That should be it for the rest of our lives.
When you sleep, doesn't that break up the...
That's the Gemara answers. Says the Gemara, boy, you guys are hot tonight. Says the Gemara, my kedun, what kedun will you say in this case? Will it be done in this case? Says the Gemara, sukkah efshali bato. So, I'm sorry, it's phrased as a question. Sukkah efshali bato? By sukkah, it's possible, is it possible you're going to be mevatel it? No, you're supposed to sit in the sukkah all 7 days straight. Right? The medaktikim b'mitzvahs, they sit in the sukkah all 7 days. But Talmud Torah, on the contrary, efshalo shaloli batel. It's possible not to stop learning Torah. In other words, it's possible not to be mevatel Torah. Of course, by Torah you must sleep. Yeah, by sukkah, when you're sleeping, you're mekayim the mitzvah. So therefore, how can you never interrupt the mitzvah of sukkah? You can go 7 days straight, not interrupting it. But by Talmud Torah, by definition, you must sleep. If you don't sleep for a day or two, but after 3 days, you have to sleep. So therefore, by definition, the mitzvah is at some point interrupted, and therefore you make a new bracha every day. So the general principle which comes down to us is a mitzvah which can theoretically proceed without interruption. One bracha is sufficient. A mitzvah which is interrupted by its very nature, you break a new bracha every day.
According to Bali, actually don't ever leave sukkah for the 8 days.
You would never make a new bracha, right? The Chiddush of Yerushalmi is that even if you leave it, you don't make a new bracha.
Make bracha every time you walk back into sukkah.
See, we do if you eat again. Yeah. The Gra held, if I recall correctly, even if you just walk in. We don't pass like the Gra. Okay? Says the Gemara, Tani, we learned. Now, here's a fascinating Gemara, and the Pnei Moshe tries to take the teeth out of the Gemara, but the Mashbiach argues with him. Great for the Mashbiach. Tani, we learned. Aval Amru. This is a fascinating Gemara. Aval Amru, not as fascinating as ones we'll see in a few minutes. That's true. But you'll see. Tani, Aval Amru, they said, Isha mivarechus l'bayla. A woman makes a bracha for her husband. Evan makes a bracha for his master. The katan la'aviv, and a katan makes a bracha for his father. So that's how can you say this? Lo kain am Rabbi Yachid. Did not Rabbi Yachid say this? B'shem Rabbi Yossi, and name Rabbi Yossi, Bei Rabbi Noi, and also Rabbi Noi. Kol shomru ba'katan k'dei l'chanchol. That which all that they said by katan they should do mitzvahs is only because of chinuch. He has no true chiyuv. So how can a cotton bench for a gadol? Right? You see the Gemara's kasha? How can a cotton make a bracha for a gadol? A cotton's not mechuyev in anything, though, right? So he's only mechuyev because of chinuch. How does he make bracha for gedolim? Says Gemara, fascinating answer. Tipot there and resolve it or understand it. Boi nachrein amen. When he answers amen. Now, the Pnei Moshe says it doesn't mean all he does is answer amen. It means he repeats word after word what the cotton said. But the Pashut Pshat Yerushalmi, as the Mashbiach learns this way and others learn this way, is that Yerushalmi is saying that for a cotton to motzi a gadol, all the gadol has to do is say amen. Shomei K'oneh doesn't apply. The classic Shomei K'oneh means you say something, I listen, even if I don't say amen, since I heard what you said, I fulfill the obligation. That by cotton doesn't apply, because by a cotton, the words he's saying, they don't have the same meaning. But if you say amen, says the Yerushalmi, then your amen is already the entirety. It's a microcosm of what he said. And therefore that's sufficient for you to be Yerushalmi Berachos HaMozon. Isn't that fascinating?
Well, along those lines,
yeah.
I heard a shiur on a tape from Yerushalmi
yeah.
who says you're not supposed to say amen after the chazan says hallel, the bracha for hallel. Because then you already been yotzei bracha. Therefore, if you go ahead and make a bracha, it's a bracha.
To have say.
Well, it's a bracha. Yes. There's no purpose to the bracha.
Because the amen is like a bracha.
That's right. So this is
a similar idea. Right. The chiddush is that even when you're from a cotton still, where the Shomei K'oneh, because there the Shomei K'oneh, you could say that the amen confirms your Shomei K'oneh. You could say that. Here, there is no Shomei K'oneh. The amen includes the entirety of the bracha. That's what the Yerushalmi is saying.
What about the husband saying amen to the wife's bracha?
Same idea.
Does it make any difference where you hear it?
So she can make kiddush.
Yeah, sure. It's a very feminist Gemara.
Does it make any difference where you would hear it? Does it have to be a goy?
A goy? Yeah, Pashtus. Pashtus, his bracha is not a bracha. But your amen doesn't...
You're hearing the words, and your amen, I mean, that's what you're saying. Your amen is essentially a masculine to the entire bracha.
It's a good... I don't know. The truth is, when you hear... Halach l'maisa, if you hear a blessing from a goy, not a bracha, blessing, you can't answer amen. But I don't know if that's enough. You're right. I can't tell you offhand. You're right. You have a valid point. What's the between a cotton and a goy?
Or if I hear an audio recording and I hear it words for words and I say amen to it, is that?
Yeah, but bear in mind the wait, slow down, because we all like the Bavli. We don't. This doesn't appear in the Bavli. Okay, so amen in the Bavli is only to a bona fide bracha. The question you're asking is, since Yerushalmi clearly learns that the amen is not tacked onto a bracha, but now becomes the microcosm of a bracha, maybe you should be able to answer amen to an audio recording. Yeah, it's an interesting question according to Yerushalmi. You would be about, because an audio recording should be no worse than a cotton. That's a good question. We pass like the Bavli, so that's why I don't answer. I'll make the audio recording. But it is a fascinating question according to the Yerushalmi. So says the Gemara, Kikai, like that, it's an Ina Tamon that we learned over there. Mishra Evero Isho Cotton. If somebody has a slave or a woman or a child, Makunoso, reading the Hallel to them or benching, whatever it is. So Ona Achrei Mashe Noimrim. Or he has to respond to them that which you're saying. Now, the Pnei Moshe says, oh, you see, it doesn't mean he just says Amen. It says, oh, you have to repeat it word for word. Right? But the Mashbiach says, that's not Pshat. Pshat is, Amen, on Mashe. You respond to them not by saying the same words, repeat after me, but rather by saying Amen and that which they're saying. However, he should be cursed. Why should he be cursed? So according to the Pnei Moshe, because he has to be prompted. According to the Mashbiach, because all he can do is say Amen, he doesn't know the words altogether, right? Avo Amru, and however they said, and this is Avo's, is not excluding from the previous statement, but going back to the beginning of the statement, Avo Amru, rather they said, Tovo me'erul ben Esrim, may their curse come upon a 20-year-old. Shetzarech ben Esrim needs a 10-year-old to be motziim. I know why they picked the numbers 10 and 20, but the 10-year-old is obviously under bar mitzvah. A 20-year-old, I guess, since he's bar onshin, maybe because he's above 20 years old. What? Too bad. You still shouldn't be yotzi with him. The 20-year-old shouldn't be yotzi with the 10-year-old. Also not. He has to say it independently. Okay? So that's what it's saying, that if a person is to be responsible or respectable, he should say the bracha himself and not be yotzi with his wife and kids. Okay. Says the Mishnah further. Now we come to a really, really fascinating Mishnah. Baal Keri, Mahara Berlibo. A Baal Keri, a person who had an omission, thinks Shema in his heart. Everybody has 51 chavav now. He thinks Shema in his heart. However, he doesn't make a bracha, lo fanev, lo achrei, he doesn't make any brachas. Okay? Now the Gemara is going to change the meaning of this slightly. We'll see in a minute. You have to bench, because it's the Raisa, so you make the benching. You don't make the brachas before eating, because those are only the Rabbanon. Rabbi Yehuda says he doesn't hold his Baal Keri business, so he says you make a bracha both before and after you eat. Now it says Gemara, Mahu Ma'arer, don't get the wrong impression from the Mishnah like I just told you the Mishnah incorrectly. Rather, Mahu Ma'arer brachas. What does he think? The brachas of Kriya Shema. Shema itself is like benching, it's the Raisa. You gotta say it, even if you're Baal Keri. You must enunciate the words. Rather, what is a Baal Keri Mahara Belibo? That which he cannot be mevorech, i.e. the brachas of Kriya Shema. But Shema itself he always has to enunciate. Is that clear? Even Rabbanan, they only hold that which is the Rabbanan, such as the brachas of Kriya Shema, brachas over food, that a Baal Keri doesn't say out loud. But they agree with Rabbi Yehuda that benching and Kriya Shema, which are the Raisa, he must say out loud. Okay? Masnisa. Now, says the more, our Mishnah is the Mokum Shein Mayim. Our Mishnah, which Rabbi Yehuda said that you can make brachas, is like where there's no water to go to the mikveh. You cry Meir. Like Rabbi Meir. The tiny Baal Keri Shein Lo Mayim Litbo. I'm sorry, not Rabbi Yehuda. I apologize. The beginning of the Mishnah is like Rabbi Meir. Like Rabbi Meir said, the tiny Baal Keri Shein Lo Mayim Litbo. Baal Keri has no water to go to the mikveh. Harei the Korea Shema. You say the Shema. Ve'enu mashmi also by saying in an undertone so that you don't hear with your ears. Ve'enu mevarech lo fanev lo lachrea. They don't make brachas either before or after Divrei Rabbi Meir. The Chachamim were like Rabbi Yehuda say, Korei Shema, you read the Shema. Umashmi lo aznav, and you let your ears hear it. Umevarech v'nechrea, and you make brachas both before and after. It's less derogatory. Tanya, we learned. Baal Keri chole. A Baal Keri who's ill and can't go to the mikveh. It's too cold. Shlef of Tisha's kabin mine. 9 kav of water fell on him. And this is in the Bavli too. The Rabbanan said if a Baal Keri can't go to the mikveh, he can go to take a shower. They have 9 kav, which is a much smaller amount of water, a 1/60th of the amount of water, or something like that, fall on his head and on his torso. That's sufficient. Similarly, however, it's not a full tahara. So, even Maim Shuvim. But it's not a full tahara, it's only a quasi-tahara. And his status is similar to the following case. Torah shenafla rosha v'aruba shlosh lugin Maim Shuvim. If you are a person who was Torah to begin with, upon whose head fell 3 lugin, which is in turn much less than 9 kabin, about 20th of that, on 3 lugin Maim Shuvim of drawn waters, tar, he's tar. So in both these cases, you're tar la'atzmo, you are tar for yourself, and you can say the Shema and everything else. But you cannot be motzi the masses until you come in 40 saw of water. Now let me explain that again. There are levels of tumah tar. A Baal carries tummy doraisa. Here's the doraisa tumah, Torah level. Rabbanon were geyser tumah on a person, even if he's completely Torah, if he came in contact with 3 lug of Maim Shuvim, with a small amount of Maim Shuvim, he's Tamei D'Rabbanan. Similarly, although not exactly the same, a Baal Keri who went under 9 kav of water, although he's not Torah D'Oraisa, Rabbanan gave him a degree of Tahara. So both these people, the person who became Baal Keri D'Oraisa but now went under 9 kavin of water, and the person who was Torah D'Oraisa but now came into 3 log of drawn waters, both of them are quasi-Tamei, quasi-Tar. So the says Yerushalmi, their status is, they can say everything, even according to Chachamim, but they're not allowed to be motzi others. Why? Because it's only quasi-Tar, I don't want them being motzi other individuals. Not nice. Says the Gemara, until they go to an actual mikvah 40 saw. Rabbi Yehuda says, and this is a very important principle, that the 40 saw which you need for Baal Keri are not the regular 40 saw which you need for a woman. A woman who's in need has got to go to 40 saw of rainwater. A man who's a Baal Keri only has to go into 40 saw of water. Now, there's even a machlokas, do they have to be in the ground? Or can they even be in a vessel? But a mikveh for men, that's why a mikveh for men is not always kosher for women. Because when Rabbanan said for Tfilas Ezra, for this rabbinic degree of Tahara, that a man should go to the mikveh, all he required is 40 saw of water, not necessarily fresh rainwater. What's not 40 saw?
A big bath.
80. According to the most cooler sheet, that's 85 gallons. It's not 85 gallons. But I'll give you a cooler. If you keep the drain open and the water running, so then the water is linked to continuous flow. So in that case, you're linking to the entire system, you got 40 saw. Not bad, right? Okay? What length of time what? No, shower won't work. You'll never get 40 saw in the shower. For 9 kav it'll work. For 9 kav. But it won't work for 40 saw because you have to immerse yourself in 40 saw. You can't immerse yourself in the shower. But the 9 kav over your head, and by the way, the Baal Shem Tov even has, there's a sefer called Savos Rivash, the Baal Shem Tov has a whole nusach of what to say when you can't go to a mikveh. By Chassidim, you can't go to the mikveh, Shamnu Baganu, it's Geferlach. But there's a nusach the Baal Shem Tov wrote to what to say if you don't have full mikveh and all you can do is 9 kabin, in order to make it as if you went to the mikveh. Okay. Well, we don't hold like this. We're going to see, but ideally speaking, he has to do that. Rabbi Yaakov Baracha and Rabbi Yasa both have B'Shem Rabbi Shlomo Levi ain't carry elamitash mishamito. You only become the Baal Keri Rabbanan forbade to daven and to learn until you go to the mikveh if you have relations with your wife. Rav Huna Amar Rav Huna said, "Afilu roas atzmo neus b'chalom." even if you saw yourself having relations in a dream. So you don't have to have actual relations with a physical woman, but if you have relations in a dream and you had an emission as a result of that, there too Rabbanan said you're the type of Baal Keri you can't daven and can't learn. Now says the Gemara, having boiled they wanted to say Uvad Be'isha, as long as you see yourself having relations with a woman in a dream. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yoyer, Rabbi Yas, Rabbi Yossi, Tarvayin Army, they both said no. I feel me davar acher. Even if you see yourself having relations with an animal in a dream, nonetheless you become a Baal Keri. I'm not making up this Gemara, I'm just reading it. You'll notice that.
Any sexual...
But it has to be bia. It has to be thoughts of Tashmish Amita. Not you had a dream and you found yourself, having an emission without any bia. According to them, it has to be that you see yourself having relations in the dream. With whatever. Now, we're going to expand on this. Talmud Tzninan, we learned over there, we're going to ask a kasha on this. Talmud, we learned over there, in Yuma, Yom Kippurim and Yom Kippur Osir B'Achila. Told you fascinating more. Yom Achila Osir B'Achila. Yom Kippurim Osir B'Achila. Yom Kippur not allowed to eat, shasia or drink, rechitza or wash, bathe. V'sicha, you're not allowed to anoint yourself with oils. Umiya Asali, not allowed to wear shoes. Uvatash Mishamita, you're not allowed to have relations with your wife. So far so good. Says more of a tiny law we learned over there. Bali Keriim, a Baal Keri, who person had a mission, Toivli Kedarkon, Betsina B'Yom Kippurim. The Baal Keri can go to the mikveh on Yom Kippur in secret. Ask Gemara if it says about there's such a case, well, Baal Keri will have to go to the mikveh on Yom Kippur. Rabbi Shua ben Levi doesn't this argument Rabbi Shua ben Levi? Rabbi Shua ben Levi Amar Ein Keri Elamitash Mishamita. Rabbi Shua ben Levi said there's no Keri unless you had relations. Yet here you see, not allowed to have relations on Yom Kippur. So if that's the case, how can you have a Mishnah which is required, which is saying you should go to the mikveh on Yom Kippur if you're not allowed to have relations on Yom Kippur? That means if all you had is an emission, you don't go to the mikveh. So the Mishnah is difficult according to Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Says the Gemara, Patar Law. It's like about a key. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi will explain the Mishnah. You had relations Erev Yom Kippur. But you forgot to go to the mikveh before Yom Kippur. So that person goes to the mikveh in secret on Yom Kippur. That's why you say this. For Tani, didn't we learn Maisa Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta? Maisa Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta. Shirose so Toivo B'Tzinu Yom Kippur. They saw him going to the mikveh on Yom Kippur. They caught him. He was going to the mikveh in secret on Yom Kippur. And Isloch L'Meimar, can you say Aloiso Gufa Kodesh on such a holy person B'Shochech that he forgot to go to the mikveh before Yom Kippur? So it's Taka Kasha Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Obviously Rabbi Yossi, but Rabbi Yossi Reb Chalafta must have held that even if all you have is an emission without having relations, which can happen on Yom Kippur, then too for that you have to go to the mikveh as well. Okay? Now, says more, I'm Rabbi Yaakov Ravun. Rabbi Yaakov Ravun is explaining Rabbi Shua ben Levi's shita essentially. Why would you say that only applies to somebody who had relations? Kol Atzmon, their entire reason, Lo Itzkinu as Atfilah Azos, they only made this tefillah, Ella, for one reason. Why did they make the constant tefillah Ezra? For this reason. Shelo Yisrael Ketani Goyim Alolu. That Jews should not be like roosters. What do roosters do? Roosters are meshamish mitaso. They have relations. Voila, they get up the and they go downstairs. Voila, and they start eating. So we wanted to try and make sure that people aren't popping up and down and having relations all the time. So how do we make sure that we do that? By making you go to the mikveh every time we have relations. Okay? That was the takana. Rabbi Chanana Hava Avar. Rabbi Chanana, however, Chanina, however, we used to pass by Altari Dimusim on the portals of the bathhouse. The Kritzda Kritzda means very early in the morning. Very early in the morning. And he saw there were a lot of people going to the mikveh there. He said, V'amar, What are these people coming here? It's early in the morning to go to the mikveh. Let them go and learn Torah. In other words, he held you don't have to go to the mikveh now. Now, excuse me. You don't have to go to the mikveh. Now there's a machlokas here. The Pnei Moshe says it's referring to nowadays. You don't have to go nowadays anymore. If they canceled the mikveh nowadays, you can just go learn without it. The Ritbaz here and the Charedim say that what he meant is you don't have to go during the night. You can wait till morning to go. And that's going to be supported by the Gemara later on. In other words, even if you want to get up, if you have relations in the night, and then you want to learn, so Chazal were mechayiv you go to the mikveh until tomorrow morning. And that's where the Ritbaz learns the next line, that Ba'it Safra, later in the morning, when he passed by again, Hava Amar, then he said, Man Disle Avida, he who has literally means a deed, but here it means he who has a necessity, Yeo Vav, let him go to the mikveh now. In other words, in the middle of the night, you don't have to go to the mikveh. You just go learn without going to the mikveh. But in the morning already, then you should go to the mikveh before you start learning. Okay? So that's why he told him to go later on. Now,
in the morning.
It's a new bracha birchas HaTorah, maybe that's why. Now the Pnei Moshe, who holds again, it's so about nowadays, how does he learn this line? He says that when he passed by in the morning, he said the exact opposite. He said, "Mildly, son, the people who went there early, they went there early because they wanted to go to the base manager and learn. So he said they should go learn. Now the people are going there later, they're going before they go to work. So he said, let them go work. Mandi Slavita, you's got work. Let him go work. You don't have to do this tefillah because nowadays we don't do it anymore. So the Ritbaz again says that it depends if it's the middle of the night or later in the day. The Pnei Moshe says no, consistently in our day and age you don't have to do it all together. Now another fascinating Gemara. Is a person allowed to think thoughts of Torah in a bathroom? We pass it into also, right? Chizkiya Amar Mutter, Chizkiya says it's permissible, Rabbi Yasso Amar Oser. Any hard issue, any hard svara, Tahavali, which I had, Talmud Sevirta was sitting in the bathroom, I was able to resolve it. So he was obviously thinking thoughts of Torah in the bathroom and coming to the resolution of hard sugyas. That's right. Rabbi Elazar Shimon said, Kol ha'u svara kasha the Tvul Yom. It's a very hard sugya concerning Tvul Yom and Zvachim. So all of that sugya, Tam and Sevirta, where did I finally get to understand it? In the reading room. Okay? Sitting in the bathroom. Again, I don't make up these words, I just read them. What? This is not in the Bible. You know, this is not in the Bible. Yeah.
You're not supposed to have wrong, but you're not supposed to think learn in the bathroom.
They're obviously being lenient. They're holding the shiur, it's okay.
As long as you're thinking.
As long as you think. That's what that's what Chizkiya said. Chizkiya Amar Mutter. Shiur is okay, not expressing, not verbalizing, just thinking. Okay? Read a book. Take an encyclopedia. Right. Rabbi Shimon said, we just said, sorry. Rabbi Yachab Shemra Tanchum Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Yachab said, name Tanchum, son Rabbi Chia, Biyomi Rabbi Shimon Levi. In the days of Rabbi Shimon Levi, Bikshu La'akor Tefillah Zos, they wanted to uproot the requirement to go to the tefillah, to go to the mikveh after you had relations. Because the women in the Galilee, where it's cold. Shayunet Koros, they were left barren. In other words, their husbands wouldn't have relations with them. Because it was cold. In other words, the women, they'd go to the mikveh in the winter. But for the men, it was too cold. So they said, you know what, we won't have relations, and so we won't have to go to the mikveh. And because they were big learners, right? This is the Golia where people were learning. This wasn't the Rumia down south where people didn't learn. So they were big learners up there. So they said, better we shouldn't have relations with our wife because we don't want to go to the mikveh afterwards because it's too cold. So they abstained and there were less kids. So therefore they canceled the whole concept of Tvila up in the Galilee. Says Gemara, Rabbi Shimon Levi said, no. Chaver, Dover, it should be. Dover shu goydes isom min avera. the thing which fences Am Yisrael off from doing averos. Atem v'akshim la'akar, you want to uproot? La'akar, so to uproot it. Ma'ugod Yisrael min averos. How to keep Jews away from averos? This Yerushalmi is a famous Yerushalmi. It's a fascinating Yerushalmi. Says the Gemara, Maisa. It's amazing. Maisa b'shomer kromim. It's a Maisa with a watchman in an orchard. Echad. Shabali Zaki Meshazi. She wanted to commit adultery with a married woman, not his own wife. But he's from. He needs a mikveh for afterwards. Until they were able to make for themselves a place where to go to the mikveh after the Aveira. By that time, passers-by already came by, and they became embarrassed. They weren't able to commit to Aveira. So you see, says Rabbi Shimon Levi, you don't realize it. But this tefillah, people have cockamamie priorities. So for some people, this mitzvah, going to the mikveh, is more chashuv than the mitzvah of adultery.
You really think it's going to stop them from?
Yeah, because they didn't have mikveh. And truth is, you see that you see that nowadays by non-orthodox movements. Very often, spirituality is a big thing. Going to the mikveh, renewal, all that kind of stuff. Even though other mitzvahs are not as stringently kept. So sometimes people's priorities, they get messed up. So Yerushalmi Levi, who knows? And we have a similar Maisa to this. It says, Maisa Bechot Shaboli Zakek Im Shimchosa Sharebi. There's a certain man who wanted to have relations with Rebbe's maidservant, with the Shivcha Knanis. Armelo, she was from. She said, Im Ein Gvirti Toveles. If my mistress, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi's wife, doesn't go to the mikveh, any else, I'm not going to the mikveh. Or she's saying, I'm a nida. The shivcha is saying, I'm a nida. And I haven't got to the mikveh and I'm not going. How can you have relations with me? So what did the guy say back? So he said back to her, aren't you an animal? Or you're a shivcha. You have no status in Jewish law. You're not a woman, you're a subhuman. So what do you care about nida? There's no nida by a shivcha, he told her. Says the Gemara, so she was sharp. She said, she said to him, if I'm an animal, V'lo shamato, have you not heard, B'baal behema, that some translations of an animal, Shuniskal is stoned. Shenam, as it says, Kol shochiv in behema, most humas. Anybody has relations with animals, put to death. So that's stopped. Okay? Says the Gemara, Amar B'chia Barva, B'chia Barva said, Kol atzmo lo iskinu es atfila azuos. The only reason they made this tefillah is not to keep people from having relations, but in order to keep people from learning immediately after they had relations. Because if you couldn't say that he's allowed to have relations, then go learn without going to the mikvah. Who Omer, he says, Avu Omer, he's also going to say, I'm going to go and have relations with my wife. Give me a break, they'll go in mid recess, they'll go home, have relations with his wife, and then come back and learn afterwards. Where is that again? Who says, I'm going to go and have relations, and Baba Shreiner, Kol Tzorka, is going to come and learn everything he wants to learn. So this is not good. Since you tell him that he's forbidden to go to have relations with his wife and come back to learn before he goes to the mikvah, he's just going to come and learn all the entire time. So in order to prevent people from taking breaks in the middle of the day and going away and having relations with their wife. Tam and Armin, we learned over there's a pin which says, even to hear words of Torah is forbidden until you go to the mikveh after you had an emission. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tumah ben Bartitam. Rabbi Yehuda ben Titam said, Rabbi Achon ben Shem Elazar, named Rabbi Achon, named Rabbi Elazar. B'tchila, where do we see this from? We see this, it originates, B'tchila, it begins with, Vayun echonim l'shloshes yomim, be prepared for the Yom HaShlishi al Tikshur Lisha. They have to abstain from relations for 3 days before even hearing words of Torah at Har Sinai. Okay? Says the word Tani we learned, Zavin, Vizavos, men and women are in a state of emissions. Nidos, women who are having menstruation. The oldest women just gave birth. Current Torah, they're allowed to learn Torah. The Shonin, and they're allowed to learn Medrash and Halachos and Agodos. However, that's only these people. Baal Keri, a person who just had a mission of the type of Keri, Aser Bekula. He's more forbidden. Why? Because generally the former things, Zav, Anida, Yoletis, are medical states. So medical states are not so frowned upon. But Keri is generally brought on by some taiva, by some lust or desire. So that person we're more stringent with, and we say he can't learn. Because he obviously has certain taivas which he hasn't dealt with yet. However, Rabbi Yaakov Baracha, B'Shem Rav, Rebbe said, Shoyna halacha is allowed to learn halacha. Then is shoyna agodos, but not agadato. Now I would say because agadato is more holy. So something that holy, agadato, he can't learn if he's about Keri. But the Pnei Moshe says because agadato you learn for a longer period of time. But halacha you only going to learn for short bursts. It's boring. But agadato, which is geshmak, it's fun. So you're going to learn for much longer periods, and we don't want you to learn for so long if you're about Keri. Okay? Says the Gemara, another view. Tani b'shem Rabbi Yossi, shoyna halachos regilos. He can learn the halachos which he's accustomed to learning quickly, like Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. Ha'uvachlo etzias ha-mishnah, but he shouldn't learn how to analyze a mishnah again, which is reflective and profound, and that he shouldn't do. Easter boy Maimar, some said you can learn anything Uvachli Azkir's chorus as long as that doesn't mention Hashem's name. Rabbi Zira boy Kumi Rabbi Yasser. Rabbi Zira asked for Rabbi Yasser. Leis Pashat Bey Leis Rebbe Pashat Bey did not my Rebbe. In other words, you Rabbi Yasser. Didn't you learn with me Pirka B'Leila? You learn with me some Perik at night. What? I skipped the line. Leis Pashat be im Rebbe Bin. Didn't you with Rebbe Bin Pirka B'Leila something last night together? Now, the Kash Shaila was he knew that his Rebbe had relations that night. I know how he knew. And he knew that Rabbi Bin also had relations that night. I know how he knew. Maybe it's Friday night, and people have relations Friday night, because that's the time when Talmidei Chacham is supposed to have relations. But his kasha was, I saw after you had relations with your wife, so you learned Torah without going to the mikveh. How are you allowed to do that? That says the Gemara, again, another Maisa. Amalei said to him, Rabbi Yas said, yes, I did it, and not only that, Rabbi Chia Barabba, the last generation, Pasha Rabbi Nechemia, who learned Rabbi Nechemia, his son, at night, on the night when he had relations. Why? Because Ba'it Safra Havamar, only later that morning, Rabbi Nechemia say, Madi Islay Lavida, you who has a reason to go to the mikvah, Yezel V'Yavik. It's like we said before, that you're allowed to learn Torah at night, you don't have to go to the mikvah till the following morning. So that's what he's saying. I was justified in doing so because at night you don't have to go to mikvah until the next day. Says the Gemara, Maisa Bechot Shamar Likos B'Turbin and Tzivin. So Maisa, a certain individual got up to start laning in Tzivin. Came in Shegil Azkor once he got to one of God's name. He started stuttering. He didn't want to say because it was Baal Keri. Armel Rabbi, the Memser said, Psach Picho, open your mouth, let your words shine. This is in the Bible. She'ein divrei Torah mekabli tumah. Torah, the words of Torah do not become tameh, and therefore you're allowed to lay even the names of God. Rabbi Yaakov Baracha. Rabbi Yaakov Baracha said, for Nehigin Tamon, their minig in Bavel, over there, is like Rabbi Loi, basically it's like Rabbi Loi by the first shearings of the sheep. Or Rabbi Yeshua came like Rabbi Yoshia by the concept of kilayim, by mixed seeds with grapes. By Baal Keri. What are these three things? Rabbi Loi, Bereshis Hagez, like Rabbi Loi in first shearings, the Tana, as we learned, Rabbi Loi, Oimer Loi says, you only have to give the first shearings of your sheep to a Kohen, in the land of Israel. Like Rabbi Yoshia, like Rabbi Yoshia, by mixed planting, the you don't transgress the prohibition of Kili HaKerem, or planting your vineyard with foreign growths until you plant barley, wheat, and grapeseed in one fell swoop. And we paskin this way. We paskin in order for something to be Kili HaKerem, to be forbidden to derive any benefit from, you have to have planted all three together: wheat, barley, and grapes. Wheat and grapes by itself, or barley and grapes by itself, do not ask for the grain. Okay? And we also paskin Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseir Bali Karen, like you're going to say by Bali Karen, at the time we learned in our Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Ein Divrei Torah Mekan to the Torah of Torah don't become Tameh, and therefore Bali Karen does not have to go to the mikvah. Now, a couple of more interesting mises along the lines we had before. Rabbi Yosef Bechlafta have a asabi stama balayla. Rabbi Yosef Bechlafta was going through a alley at night. It wasn't Chicago. He went through a dark alley. It's okay. And there was a donkey walking behind him with its donkey, the donkey, whatchamacallit? The person who leads it. I don't know what it's called in English. So whatever, the person who leads the donkey. So he's walking with his donkey next door. Not next to him, in the alley. So Al Chad Beis Siach. So they came to a certain place where there was, I guess, some sort of Beis Siach is like a dugout or a well where there's water. So the donkey driver said, Armaleu Gavra Boy Masche. He said, that person, in other words, I want to swim. Rabbi Yosef Bar said, Lo Tisaki Nafshcha, don't put yourself in danger. In other words, it's nighttime, you might drown. Amarle said, I gotta go. Mi nida me neshus ish, because I just had relations with a woman who was a nida on a neshus ish. So, obviously felt he wanted to do tshuva now. So he said, I gotta go to the mikveh. Says the Gemara, I gotta go to the mikveh because I just had relations with a woman who committed adultery with the nida. Amarle, so he said, Rabbi Yosef Bar Chav said, Lo Tisaki Nafshcha, don't do it. Because it's still dangerous. Okay, it's true you're Russia, but don't put your life in danger, right? Came to Lo Shamalei, since the donkey driver was listening to him, he said, Amarle, Rabbi Yosef said, okay, fine, let that person go down. But he won't come up. In other words, once you go down and you're such a sinner, and you go at night when it's dangerous, Hashem's not going to let you come up. And of course, obviously, that's what happened. He's around there. Okay? Happy ending. Rabbi Yossi ben Yossi, a similar case, Rabbi Yossi ben Yossi, Asi Bilfa, he was coming out of Shimon. This is a happier ending. Chamak Chad, he saw a certain person, Kater Garmei, tying himself b'chavla on a rope, Mechus Mischei, to go down and swim. This person was a Baal Keri. And he was going down to swim in order to make himself tar, but so he tied himself to a rope. Amalei Rabbi Yossi ben Yossi said, Lo Tisaki Nafshcha, don't put yourself in danger. Amalei, so he said, I want to eat and I can't make brachas unless I go to and swim in the sea and become tar, because he was Baal Keri. Amalei, he said, Achil, don't worry, eat. How Gavra boy mishtei? He said, but I want to drink too. Amalei said, Shasi, drink. Came with the matun lilamina, so the Marichs, the Mashbiach says this word is, the word letters are arranged improperly. It should be came with the matun le nemela. Once they got to port, a namal in Hebrew is a port. So once they got to port, Amalei, Rabbi Yosef said that now it's over. Tamon there, in other words, at sea, lo sharis loch el begin sakanta. I only let you eat and drink without going to the mikvah because it was dangerous. Begin sakan nefashis. But now that we're in port, also lugavlim mitem klu. Now you can no longer taste anything. Ad shaiti yaschin until you go to the mikvah. Rabbi Yana said shamati shemakilim bo. I heard there's some people lenient in this halacha and some people stringent in this halacha. But stringent in this halacha, marich yomim b'tay will have a long life. What are mekilim ba? What are the people lenient in it? Lichot Mayim Shumei, as we said before, Nei Rabbi Yehuda, you can go to a mikvah of entirely drawn water in order to be Yotzei this Tevila. Who are those who Machmirim Ba? Those are Libo Mayim Chaim, those who go to a bona fide regular mikvah in order to be Yotzei this Tevila. We will stop here. Everybody should have a good Shabbos. And if you like to get back 53, I'd like to keep it till Monday.